I've been doing sports since I was 5, and I never thought in a million years I'd grow up to be a professional fighter, but guess that's what I'm destined to do. My very first training session was a sparring session. This sport, like I said, it gives you the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and it's tough when you're on a platform. It's tough when you're in the spotlight and when you're in the media and you have all these expectations to live up to.
You're listening to the Radcast. If it's radical, we cover it. Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the latest edition of the Radcast. We're getting radical today, folks. Talking black and blue in the face. Raquel Pennington, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm great, man. I mean, I was excited. My team put you in front of me, and I'm like, oh, she seems pretty rad. I want to hear this story. I kind of want to know, the fighter's journey, especially, watching you climb through the UFC, and I know we'll get into all that, but seemed like you had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey, to say the least.
Well, let's start down that path. Let's give everybody kind of, your background, and then we'll get into some of the stuff. I want to talk about the Ultimate Fighter and, just your experience. What's the life of a fighter, growing, coming through it? I know it's been, you're kind of hitting your stride here, with, wins and things like that and doing well, maybe later than some people. But I'd love to just kind of start down that, professional journey for you.
Yeah, I've always been an athlete. I've been doing sports since I was 5, and I never thought in a million years I'd grow up to be a professional fighter, but guess that's what I'm destined to do. And, I started in the sport in 2010, and then in 2012, I believe it was, I made my pro debut. And, the sport has been it's been a journey. It's been a ride. It's fun. You get your highs to highs and your lowest to lows. But overall, for me, I've had the opportunity to where life is just really set me up to where, I just straight focus on fighting. And, my life consists of waking up and going to the gym and having some lunch and focusing on nutrition and going back to the gym, getting some naps in and repeating 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, I just try to enjoy myself. So it's definitely a journey.
So is it, it's got to just be in your blood, right? It's just the average person, when you think about it, doesn't go, I want to, and I know it's more than this. I know that it's a total sport and there's technique and there's so many things, which I want to get kind of your take and understand your style and all that. But beating one another up, you're fighting, daily is just not what the average person wants to do. What is it, just get in your blood?
Yeah, I grew up in a huge Hispanic family, so I think, having a Mexican background, we're just natural fighters in general. But I grew up being a huge tomboy. I'm the only female out of a ton of guy cousins and a brother. And, they called me Raquel McDaniel in the neighborhood. I grew up playing tackle football on the pavement and just being crazy, always fighting with the guys. And at one point, I asked my parents if I could box. And they told me I was too pretty and my teeth are way too nice. So it wasn't a thing. So I ended up fighting my guy cousins and beating up on my brother. And then I actually broke my back snowboarding, so I couldn't take my athletic scholarships to college. I took an academic scholarship to the university here in Colorado Springs. And, I was kind of just going through rehab and getting back in shape and doing things and trying to figure out which direction my life would go in. And the first team I started with, they were training at the gym in one of the little yoga studios. And it was more of a joke just because of what my parents said. So I told my mom that night, I was like, oh, I'm going to go join that. She was at the gym with me. And I think she honestly just thought it'd be something to get me going again. And we went in there, we talked to the coach, and my very first training session was a sparring session. He just hands me some gloves and some hand wraps, and he's like, here you go. And I was just like, what do I do with any of this? And, for one, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love challenges. Just everything to really push my limits, and fighting matches all of that. And then, of course, the level that you take your body to, it's just one of a kind. So I fell in love, and here I am, 12 years, getting ready to go on 13 years later.
How hard is it to be and make professional fighting a career? It just seems like I don't know, that's like anything in pro sports, whatever the lowest percentage number is, like how rare it is for someone, to make a career out of fighting.
Yeah, we always say we're the one percenters of like the population doing this whole fighting thing, and even lower than that. But it's tough, man. It's just like anything in life. You got to work for everything that you're doing. And, the thing with fighting, just like anything else, I mean, if you're not having fun, then it's definitely not worth it. There are some days that it's just like, man, my body feels it and everything else. But then, I mean, times have changed. And so recovery is a lot different and everything. And at the same time that we're putting our body through the ringer, we have to also work on our minds. So I like to say that fighting is 10% physical and 90% mental. So days that it gets tough on the body, it's okay to take that break and actually listen to your body, let it recover. And then you can work on your mental training, and then vice versa. There's some days that I just absolutely get exhausted mentally and I need to go recharge somewhere. And, there's life outside of work, outside of training and everything else. And so I go out into the mountains, I'm doing something active, whether it's snowboarding or hiking or just hanging out, or sometimes I just like to lay on my couch all day. Who knows? But I mean, just like any other job, it's a physical one.
Yep. And I want to, talk about the business of the UFC. But before that, I think it'd be interesting for, the audience to hear, because you don't, we hear and watch, and, boxing, which was more popular like years ago, and now UFC being hugely popular. I think the average person understands at a high level the amount of training that goes in, but I don't think they truly understand the level of training and what you put your body through. So how could you describe that, like, so people understand exactly what you have to go through, like when you're training for a match?
It's always like, that expression, like the tip of the iceberg, that's what people see. They don't see underneath the water and everything that occurs. And, there's a lot there. For me personally, like, obviously my job just isn't only just being in the gym and getting into the best shape possible and working on my technique and skill. For me, I mean, I have genetics and I come from a Hispanic family to where my job starts in the kitchen too. So, I'm constantly working there. And then there's just some days that honestly training gets so tough that my body, I mean, being 33, being an athlete since I was 5, I've had crazy injuries. And then the injuries you sustain throughout fighting and throughout this career. I mean, living in Colorado, I feel the aches and pains when that winter hits, and so it's just like, there's some days that I don't even want to move. And it comes down to, sometimes maybe twice a week, I have to go to physical therapy and I'm getting dry needling. I'm getting massages. I have a massage every week. I live in the chiropractor's office 3 days a week, and I'm constantly doing something like that. Some days it consists of, just go sitting in a steam room or a sauna, and it's not to cut weight or lose weight, but just to like relax the body. And other times it'll be at home and taking a hot bath. And then some days it's a nonstop grind. So, I wake up early in the morning, and my mornings start around about 6:30, and I have my breakfast and make sure that I eat an hour before training and kind of just like try to start the day slow. And then I'm at the gym for anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. On Mondays and Wednesdays, my training session goes for 3 hours, and then I get about 3-hour break in between, and then I'm back at the gym. And then at nighttime, it's like doing some sort of recovery, whether it's stretching or just simply relaxing or whatever. And then, I repeat that. For me, I do 5 days a week, and then I love the weekends off. Like, you have to listen to your body. So I take Saturday and Sunday off, but even with that, I'm super active. So I'm constantly doing something. And not only that, this sport, like I said, it gives you the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And it's tough when you're on a platform. It's tough when you're in the spotlight and when you're in the media and you have all these expectations to live up to. So not only do you have to work on your body physically, but you have to work on yourself mentally. And so I do sports psychology in there, and it's nonstop.
I know you were on The Ultimate Fighter. So you mentioned season 18. Is that right? Pre-episode. Yeah. And so what was that process like? And how do you reflect on that journey? I know it's been almost 9-10 years, but, it's obviously a part of your professional journey and putting, I guess, I don't want to say putting you on the map, but it certainly made, you more of a household name and people aware of you, being a TV show. What was that journey like?
I'm honestly excited that they brought the Ultimate Fighter back, because if athletes have the opportunity to experience that, I think it's something that everybody should be able to experience. It's a really unique opportunity. It's challenging. It takes you out of your complete comfort zone. So like, I go into a fight and I have an entire support system. I'm used to my family and my friends being there. I'm used to talking to everybody right before my fight, or, you know what I mean? Like, we have certain things that we do. We'll go get pedicures before, like, my mom and everybody, we get together, and before I leave to fight week, we go get pedicures. And then as soon as weigh-ins are done, usually my mom's my weight cut buddy, and then I have my team cutting weight with me and stuff. So it's just a group of people that you're used to. And then after weigh-ins, my entire family gets together and my team, and we're just eating and hanging out. And then the fight happens, and then after fight. So there's this whole routine that goes into everything, and having the opportunity to listen to people's encouraging words or just hang out and take your mind off of things. And with the Ultimate Fighter, you get chosen. And for us with my season, like, we had a fight to get into the house, and that's where it all started. But with that, like, you get taken out of your norm, you get put into a house, you don't get TV, you don't get books, you don't get magazines, you don't get music, you don't get your cell phone. You have no choice but to interact with people. And some people know each other and some people don't. So you have to learn how to live with 15 other individuals and basically like find comfort in that. You're pretty much living your dream. Like, all you're doing is eating, sleeping, and training and repeat. And so that's the really cool part. But then with the Ultimate Fighter, everything is in such a short time frame that if you get injured, like, you don't have time to be like, hey, I'm injured and all this other stuff. And if you say something, then you get sent home and a replacement comes in. So it's like, what do you want to do? Like, you have the challenge there. And for me, I had a fractured forearm. I broke my hand. I had stitches in my eye from just my first fight into the Ultimate Fighter, where we won fight of the season. And all of a sudden I had to go into a semifinal fight, and I had maybe 2 weeks in between fights, and I couldn't even train or do anything. It was super painful. And then on top of that, like, you have athletes who everybody eats so different. You have people, they have their own little ways of getting prepared for a fight or doing things. And then once people fight, they know they're not going to fight for a couple weeks, so they can do whatever and eat all crazy. And you have to be ready to make weight in the spur of the moment. Like, if a fight happens and then all of a sudden they line up the teams and they're like, hey, Pennington's fighting and this person's fighting, you have to make weight the next day. So it's not like where, we get these 6-day notices or 12-week notices or whatever. Like, you have to learn how to do that. And then on top of that, like, you're just kind of preparing yourself. You have to really dig deep within yourself and find the comfort either in the people at the house or by yourself. And it's a really unique journey. It's really cool. I feel like that's where I really had the opportunity to spread my wings and just grow as a person and as an athlete.
So you reflect positively on it. I mean, obviously on the business side of things, that awareness certainly had to have been helpful with, springboarding, your career even further, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's
it definitely, like, it bumps you up there. I mean, obviously it's on TV, so people learn you. And the other cool part is it's not just like Dana White's Contender Series. Like, that's an opportunity, but they see these athletes and then they see the fight. And then if somebody gets into the UFC and gets the contract on the Ultimate Fighter, you get to learn the actual person. Of course, TV can portray you however they want, but at least it gives you some insight or some background to us as people and not just as fighters.
How scripted was it?
It's not scripted. It
seemed, what I watched of it, it seemed pretty raw.
Yeah, no, it's not scripted at all.
Yeah. When you look back, I know it's been a number of years now, but I mean, you feel okay with, you feel like it reflected you the way you wanted it to? Like, it seems like you can get caught up in that stuff, no matter how you're we're all imperfect people. Like, shit just happens, right?
Yeah, for sure. I just went in there and I was truly myself. They did, like I said, TV can portray you however they want to, and they focused a lot on the fact of like my lifestyle and being like homosexual and into women and stuff. But with that being said, there was some stuff going on within production and their family and everything, and people wanting to commit suicide. And there was a whole background that the world doesn't get to see. And they were just like, you know, would anybody be willing to like share their stories or step up for who they are? And honestly, at the time, like I wasn't even open. And so the world learned along with my family. And that's where I really got to spread my wings and stuff. But it did kind of bother me with the fact that like anytime they talked about me, it was just based off of like my choices in life with that. And so I wish they would have spoke a little bit more as like other stuff as me as a person. But for the most part, I mean, I am happy with it. It was amazing. The people that it impacted, the responses I got afterwards, people reaching out to me and sending me thousands and thousands of emails and letters and different things. Like it was really cool how me just doing something that I'm passionate about and me being my genuine self, how it impacted other people.
Yeah, I mean, people really, I think, pick up on that authenticity, and I think people want to be able to relate to other people. So I'm sure it allowed, you know, people to see that side of you, even if it was uncomfortable in the moment. It's been interesting. You've come up through the UFC, and I don't know if the glory years, you know, is right, but you've been in the sport 10 plus years now. You've seen a lot with the business of the UFC. I mean, it's one of the most popular sports in the world now. How do you reflect on what you've seen out of the business side of the UFC? You know, kind of, I mean, it's interesting. You know, I had Bruce Buffer on, you know, several months back, and he's, you know, from a different side, not a fighter, obviously, but talking about just the growth of the UFC and just the explosion of the growth. But talk about, you know, your perspective kind of coming up through the last 10 years on the business side of it.
Honestly, MMA in general, just to watch it explode and grow is super cool. When I first started the sport and as an amateur, I fought some of the same women multiple times because there was not competition. Like there was not many women in the sport and everything. And, you know, back in the day, like we really had to go out there and prove ourselves. And it's a male dominant sport. But now, like, it's really cool to see how like the men and women are both here. And sometimes you can go into a bar and you can take a toll and or a poll, and everybody's like, we would actually rather see the women fight and all this other stuff. Because I think we just go out there and like we had to put more on the line for so long to actually see like the equality in that aspect coming in. But then, you know, just UFC blowing up, all the other platforms blowing up, and there's multiple different things. And, you know, I remember when UFC was like quarterly, and then I remember when it went to once a month, and then now it's every weekend. And it's crazy. And, you know, I mean, UFC still has like, when I originally got signed with the UFC, I think they were at like just right around 500 athletes, and now they have about 700. So, I mean, it's still not a lot compared to what the population is, but it's definitely growing. And sometimes it's hard to be like, who is fighting tonight? I don't even know this person, because it's just booming. And I mean, it's awesome. People are getting to make their dreams come true, and everybody else is loving the sport. And
how's it been, you know, on the business side of getting booked and like I don't know, there's just it's a business, right? And so is it more grueling, more challenging, like keeping your name fresh, keeping it out there, like there are politics involved? It just seems like, I think the answer has to be yes on some level, but you know, you know, like, you don't need to smack the hand that feeds you. I'm just saying, like,
yeah, there's definitely politics. I mean, it functions a lot off of that and whatnot. As far as me, like, I have a great relationship with UFC, so you know, I've had my highest of highs and my lowest of lows, and the last like 4 years have been a really hard time with me, as far as like medical and physical. Like my body's just changed. I've gone through a lot of injuries. I've had surgeries. So it's been a rough go, but usually every time that I've reached out to UFC and I've talked to them and everything, I get some fights lined up and whatnot. But I know of other athletes who they really struggle, and it's just like they can't get a fight for like over a year, and they get frustrated because it's just like, for a lot of people, it's their livelihood, you know? But when it comes to it, for me, you know, I mean, everybody's so worried about like the public eye and like growing and, you know, getting their social media followers and doing all this. And like, I'm just passionate about something. I'm super grateful for the opportunity. I'm super grateful that, I get to wake up and do what I love. And I'm authentic to who I am. And my focus is just being the best that I can be. And, everybody's like, oh, you're inspiring, you're this, you're that. Well, the stories that have been shared with me, it's an inspiring circle. But I've never been like concerned about like all the politics. I don't like to fall into all the media stuff. I don't like to do all the different things. And, my manager's like, hey, we got to get more active on social media. We got to do this. We got to do that. Like, it's a job in every aspect. And like, that's honestly like just hard for me because I love just living life. I love training hard. I love watching myself grow. I like watching the small accomplishments daily for myself. And, I'm not this person that goes out there and is a giant shit talker and falling into all the hype of everything. Like, I just want to go out there and do what I do and what I train hard for and punch somebody in the face.
But hey, Raquel, you got to build the personal brand. Come on now, you got.
I keep hearing.
So your manager probably tells you that. I'll second your manager. Come on, we gotta have opportunities after the gloves get put down.
Yeah.
Look, you fought some of the biggest names in MMA on the women's side. I mean, talk to me about your most memorable fight. Maybe it's not one of the bigger names. I don't know. I know you've had some wars out there.
Honestly, each one has something that stands out. Like, people are like, who's your toughest fight today? Who's this? Who's that? And, at the end of the day, like, everybody's tough. A fight is a fight. Like, none of them are easy at all. I think, honestly, I would have to say most memorable. I will say when I fought Miesha Tate, who was also my coach on The Ultimate Fighter. So just like, the storyline behind that, but then not to mention, that was the time that it was the first fight card that UFC got approved for in New York. It was at Madison Square Garden. So a lot of things were happening. It was just overall, the experience was just super unique. It was cool. It was one of like, I haven't been on another card like that since. It's just, it was one of a kind. And then, obviously walking out there into that arena was just that in itself. Like, that is one walkout that I can truly remember and just kind of just embracing the entire crowd and stuff. And then obviously going out there and fighting Miesha and then her retiring. And there was just a lot of stuff in there that really stood out to me and like really hit my heart. And then another fight is obviously the world title, but not just because it was for the world title. Like, that's like what I was talking about where the 1%ers are doing this, but then fighting for a world title is like the 1% of the 1%ers. So having that opportunity was super cool. But then it was just, there was a lot that went behind that. It was like the first time the women were doing stuff, both Amanda and I with our lifestyles, they took us into the Cristo and we got to climb to the top of it. They've never done that. So there's just like a lot of things leading up to the fight that were super unique, super cool. And those are the ones that really stand out to me.
I think what I like about you, Raquel, is like there's so many people that are so focused on a destination. I feel like you really just love this journey, like the act of doing it. Like that's pretty unique. Like everybody's focused on, well, if I'm number 8, I got to get to number 2. I've got to fight this person. Everyone's trying to get to a destination, but it feels like you just enjoy the journey.
Absolutely. I always say it too. And even I coach high school gymnastics and I always tell all my athletes, for one, you got to have fun. You got to embrace the journey. And that's what I practice for myself, embracing the journey. Like I said, I wake up grateful for the fact that this is my life. This is what I get to do. It's brought me some really unique opportunities. I've traveled the world. I've fought in really cool places. I've crossed paths with multiple different, like tons and tons of really awesome people. And then, it has its lows and its craziness and the headaches and stuff. But overall, like, I just feel like I've really like grown as a person and who I'm supposed to be and like, just like finding my purpose and my path. And I have fun with it. Cause at the end of the day, like, we can't control things. Like, there's only certain things that are in our control, but I can sit here and stress and be like, oh, I want to be the freaking champion. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. And, I think the Ultimate Fighter taught me a lot of that because everybody was like, okay, you get on the Ultimate Fighter. You have to win the Ultimate Fighter in order to get in the UFC. That's not true at all. Like, I won fight of the season on there. My journey was a lot different, but I've been the most active from my season. I was the first one to ever fight for a world title. I fought in the best of the best. Like, so everybody's journey is different, and that's what it's about, you know?
Exactly. What is there a path for you back to the title? I mean, I know that's not, like you said, you'll fight anyone, anywhere. I mean, but where do you see, what is your path the next few years as far as on the fighting side?
Oh, be world champion.
I mean,
Like,
that's the goal, right?
like,
Yeah.
fights away. Like I said, I mean, you have your setbacks and you have your highs to highs, and it's been some setbacks, but I'm coming back with heat. And so I would like to actually get probably 2 more fights under my belt and then actually fight for the world title again.
Is it just, so interesting with UFC, like, in boxing, they kind of, if fighters not like 24-0, they don't have a path. UFC, everybody fucking loses. Like, it's like, because it is tough. Like you said, everybody's kicking each other's ass. And yeah, there's some fighters and there's the rare bird, but it's like, it's just such a unique path because you're going to have these ups and downs, but there seems like there's always, a hot streak comes out of nowhere. Somebody wins 4 or 5 hours in a row and you're right back in the thick of things. It's pretty unique to MMA.
Everybody's like, I don't like to take away from anybody who's out there doing any kind of fighting or sports in general and whatnot. But I feel like boxing, like, and if you're a boxer, a lot of boxers agree, but they kind of like pack their records a little bit and whatnot.
Yep.
But then at the same time, like, you have people who are out there putting their best foot forward and whatnot. A fight is a 50-50 chance. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what skill level you are. If you're not on your A game that night, like, hey, you got somebody else coming in and do the same exact thing that you're trying to do to them, and it happens. But yeah, I mean, with UFC, you have the best of the best, and I think that's why UFC is so entertaining. Like, they're not sitting here just handing people to other people. They're sitting here making the best of the best matchups, and it is truly exciting to watch. And, being the athlete, being a spectator and being a fan, it's freaking awesome. Being the athlete, like, it's like, whew, all right, like, there's nothing easy in this. Like, everybody is tough. Everybody's in the UFC for a reason. So you have no choice but to level up.
Yep. Have you thought about life after fighting? I know you've got your hands in other things, but what's that path look like for you? Or I know I know you want to stay focused on the present, but I'm sure you think about it.
Oh, absolutely. I was in school before my fight career really kicked off. I was going to school to be a doctor. And so, like, I have a lot of schooling underneath me and I love learning. So, I mean, I don't care what age I am. Like, I'll go back to school and do different things. And I have a lot of like credentials under me when it comes to like physical training and all this other stuff. I love coaching. I love just being around the athletic world. I'm really into like physical therapy and recovery and all different things. And, I want to open a gym. I was getting ready to open a gym and then COVID hit. So there's different things there. I have a lot of investments and stuff for myself and whatnot. Like, I'm always thinking about with like the future and everything. I love living in the present, but at the same time, like, I do things after every fight or just in my daily life to set up my future. And so, I want a family, I want kids, I want to be able to run around with my little rugrats and hang out, travel the world. So there's a lot there. Like, people wake up and they honestly, like, they have true struggles in life and like, it really sucks. And we all go through things and everything. But like, my issue is I wake up and I'm like overwhelmed because I have like too many goals and too much ambition. And it's like frustrating to like sort through and calm myself down with. So those are things that I'm like working on. There's a lot in the works, and I feel like whatever I put my mind to, it'll definitely happen.
What advice do you give to people that want to get into the sport? Like, it's probably universal. It doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man, but on some level, I mean, I know there's some nuances, I'm sure, but I mean, how do you counsel people? I'm sure you get a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, everybody always asks, and like, you're not going to have an answer for yourself until you try it. It's all you can do. So go out there and try and put your best foot forward and have fun. And, I tell them it's going to be highs to highs and lowest to lows, even in training. You're going to have people of all different skill levels. And, at the end of the day, remain humble and have fun. Have fun with whatever you're doing. But, I mean, you're going to get in shape and remember why you're there. Like, don't set these, like, outrageous goals and expectations for yourself. Like, just embrace the journey and have fun with it every single day and let yourself grow.
I like it, Raquel. I really enjoyed it. How can everybody keep up with everything you've got going on? What's the best place to find you? And even if you only want to fight, I'm sure there's places where people can keep up with you.
Well, ESPN, UFC,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
And then I'm usually pretty active. I run my Instagram, and one thing I really like is trying to take the time and really reach out to fans and stuff. And so, you know, I put time aside daily, and I sit there and interact with people and everything. And that is, what is it? Raquel_Pennington. And then I'm on Twitter. I'm usually most active on the weekends with that for fights and go back and forth. And so that's Rocky P MMA. I got this new gig, the TikTok thing. Oh man.
Oh
and
boy.
So Raquel that, but yeah, I mean, I'm there.
That's cool. Well, all right, guys. Well, you know where to find her. I really appreciate you coming on. Really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, it was great chatting. Thanks for having me.
Hey, guys, you know where to find us. We're the Radcast.com. Search for Raquel. Find all the content from today. You know where I'm at. I'm at Ryan Alford on all the channels. We'll see you next time on the Radcast.